Books on Tape presents The Bright Forever by Lee Martin. Read by Susan Denneker, Bo Foxworth, Kirby Hayborn, and Lee Leoncavallo. On the banks beyond the river we shall meet, no more to sever, in the bright forever, in the summer land of song. Fannie J. Crosby, The Bright Forever. Raymond R. I'm not saying I didn't do it. I don't know.
Mr. D's. On the night it happened, July 5th, the sun didn't set until 8:33. I went back later and checked the weather cartoon on the Evening Register's front page, a smiling face on a fiercely bright sun. I checked it because it was the heart of summer, and I couldn't stop thinking about that long light and all the people who were out in it. I'd seen them sitting on porches, drinking Pepsis and listening to WTHO's Top 50 Countdown on transistor radios. I knew they were getting a laugh out of Peanuts or High and Lois in the newspaper, thrilling to the adventures of Steve Canyon. Cars were driving along High Street, Trans Ams and GTOs, Mustangs and Roadrunners, Chargers and Barracudas. Some of them were on their way to the drive-in theater east of town, a twin bill, Summer of '42 and Bless the Beasts and Children. Others went downtown. Teenage boys were ducking into the Rexall or the new superfood liner to pick up a pack of Marlboros or Cools. Couples were strolling around the courthouse square, lollygagging after a supper at the Coach House or a steak and a cold beer at the Top Hat Inn. They were window shopping, the ladies admiring the new knee-high boots at Bogan's shoe store, high school girls looking at the first wire-rim glasses at Blank's Optical, the flared-leg pantsuits at Helene's dress shop, the friendship bracelets and engagement sets at Lat's Jewelry. Enough time and opportunity, and yet no one could stop what was going to happen. We were just an itty-bitty town in Indiana, on the flat plain beyond the rolling hills of the Hoosier National Forest, a glassworks town near the White River, which twisted and turned to the southwest before emptying into the Wabash and running down to the Ohio. That day, a Wednesday, the temperature had gotten up to 93 and the humidity had settled in and left everyone limp with trying. The air held in the smell of heat from the furnaces at the glassworks, the dead fish stink from the river, the sounds of people's living, ice cubes clinking in glasses, car mufflers rattling, screen doors creaking, mothers calling children to come in. In the evening, when the breeze picked up enough to stir the leaves on the courthouse lawn's giant oaks and dusk started to fall, the air cooled just enough to make us forget how hot and unforgiving the day had been. After the hours spent working at the glassworks or the stone quarry or the gravel pit, people were glad to be moving about at their own pace, taking their time, letting the coming dark and the rustle of air convince them that soon there might be rain, and then the heat would break. I was content to sit at the kitchen table, noodling around with the story problems I planned to use the next day with my summer students, one of whom was Katie Mackey. Later, there would be a few folks who would step up and say they had something maybe the police ought to know. Their names would be in the newspapers, papers as far away as St. Louis and Chicago, and on the Terre Haute and Indianapolis television stations, people who would be in the notebooks of all the magazine writers who'd come, slick-talking out-of-towners with questions. Newshounds from inside Detective Police Gazette. They'd want to know how to find so-and-so. I've never been able to tell this story and my part in it until now, but listen, I'll say it true. A man can live with something like this only so long before he has to make it known. My name is Henry Dees, and I was a teacher then. A teacher of mathematics and a summer tutor for the children, like Katie, who needed such a thing. I'm an old man now, and even though more than 30 years have gone by, I still remember that summer and its secrets, and the way the heat was, and how the light stretched on into evening like it would never leave. If you want to listen, you'll have to trust me. Or close the book. Go back to your lives. I warn you, this is a story as hard to hear as it is for me to tell.
Gilly. We were eating supper. That's what I remember, the four of us sitting at the table. Mom and Dad and me and Katie. It was just a night like that, a summer night. And pretty soon Katie would finish her lemon sherbet and ask to be excused and then run up the street to find her friend Renee Cherry. That's what would have happened. I've known it all these years. Renee and Katie would have made up, said they were sorry about the quarrel they'd had that morning, and played until dark, when Mom would have called my sister in. But before any of that could happen, I said, "Katie didn't take back her library books." I was still mad at her because sometime that afternoon she'd gone into my room and listened to my Carole King album Tapestry and left a scratch on the It's Too Late track, so it stuck on the chorus, "Too late, too late, too late," and I wanted to pay her back. I wanted to see her get in Dutch with Dad, who had warned her about keeping library books past the due date. "Good golly, little Miss Katie," he told her at breakfast. "If you're not careful, you'll be living a life of crime." We knew we were a family that people noticed, envied even, for our wealth and my father's influence in our town. Our family had owned Mackey Glass for years, and my father always told us we had to be careful not to screw up, not to give anyone a reason to think less of us. "If the police come looking for you," he said to Katie, "I'll tell them we tried our best to bring you up right, but you wouldn't listen. Now, I mean it, Katie. Take those books back today." But she didn't. She and Renee spent all morning on the front porch. They were there when I was getting ready for work. I was 17 that summer, and I was a clerk and stock boy at the J.C. Penney store downtown. I was standing in front of my dresser mirror, knotting my necktie, and I could hear Katie and Renee in the porch swing. The chains creaked as the swing moved back and forth. Katie and Renee were playing their favorite game, It's Gotta Go, where they made choices between things that they dearly loved. Pepsi or Coke, spaghetti or macaroni, Little Dot or Little Lulu, puppies or kittens, Barbie or Skipper, you can't roller skate in a buffalo herd, or hello Mutta, hello Fada, Christmas or your birthday. Making a choice was heartbreaking and took hours. Often they'd end up bawling. They'd hug each other and agree that it was necessary. If it wasn't hard, it wouldn't matter. It proved how much they really loved the things they said they'd let go. Renee's mother, Margot, claimed to have ESP, the sixth sense she called it. A sign in front of her house said, "We'll tell you your entire life without asking a single question." I'd gone to her earlier that summer, just for a kick. She held my hands, turned them over, and traced the lines in my palms. "You will be chosen," she told me. "Soon a light will find you. Don't look away." On the porch, Katie and Renee were trying to decide between the Partridge family and the Brady bunch. One of them had to go. Katie said that Keith Partridge was dreamier than Greg Brady, but she'd much rather be friends with Marcia than with Laurie Partridge. Marcia was just so cute, and her hair was perfect. Laurie was too skinny, and Katie was fairly certain that she didn't really know how to play that electric piano. Renee, who usually took her cues from Katie, said yes, that was true, but who wouldn't choose Peter Brady over Danny Partridge? "Maybe I wouldn't," Katie said. The swing's chains stopped creaking. Someone, maybe Renee, dragged her feet over the porch floor. "You can't mean that," she said, and she sounded very serious, like a grown-up. "You've got to be kidding. Danny instead of Peter? No way, Danny isn't nice." I finished knotting my tie and went over to look out the window. A robin was parading around the lawn. The grass, still wet from the sprinkler, sparkled.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?